Hello, welcome to the lecture. In this lecture, we are going to learn about nth-child selector, which is a pseudo-class selector. We often call it pseudo-selector, which is a pseudo-selector. And if you already know about the nth-child, you can skip this lecture. Otherwise, you can stick to it. On the left side, I've created a container and I've added a div inside this container. Here you can see this is the parent element which have given the class of container. Inside the parent element, I have added a div which is a children of this container div, and inside the div I've added a h3 tag and I've said this is the heading, and I've given div 1, div 2 and div 3, so on. And if I scroll up, what I've given the width property and height property, and also a text align property to align the text in the center position, and I've also added a background dark gray. So now let's say we need to select a second div inside the container without using a class selector or ID selector. What we are going to use here, we are going to use nth-child selector to solve our problem. So we will add a class here, class of container. We said inside the container class, and we are going to use the combinator selector to select only the div. So we will say we are talking about only the div, and then we are going to use nth-child selector. We'll say nth-child, and then we will open up a parentheses, and this parentheses we will provide information here to tell the nth-child selector what child we need to select here. We can pass our n value here, which will select all the children inside the container. Let me show it to you. If we say background red, it will give all the children a background red color. Instead of selecting all the elements inside the container, we will say only select the second child. So we pass out a number 2 here because we want to select the second div inside the container. So that is why we use 2 value here. So when we save the file and when we refresh it, you will see it will select the second div. Let's say if you want to select the sixth div, we will pass out value here of 6, and then it will select the sixth div. We can also use our even parameter here. It will select according to even number, like this, as you can see, 2, 4, 6 and 8 and so on. And we can also use odd value here. What it does, it will select as an odd number. As you can see, our first div is selected, third div is selected, fifth is selected, seventh and ninth and so on. There is another thing we can use here. We can say select every second div. We have passed out 2, and that is used to only select our one children, but we have used even and odd as well, that would select more than one child, but in an even or in an odd position. So let's say we want to select an element by our own position, which we can do this by adding a 2, and then we are going to say every 2 number. When we put n here, that's mean every second div inside the container will now have a background red. So if you refresh the page, you can see 1, 2 and 1, 2 and then 1, 2. Every second div inside the container class will have now background red property. So let's select the every fourth child of the container div. So let's refresh the page. Now it's selected the every fourth children inside the container. As you can see, 1 2 3 and it selected the 4, and then the count goes on 1 2 3 and 4th, and now 1 2, and there is not a 4th element here. We can also use a starting value here. So we can use a starting value to add a starting position. We can say start from every third children of the container. So what we are going to add here, we will say plus 3. What it will do, it will select the third child, and then it will count 1 2 3 and 4th, and then it will carry on. So we can also say select all the children and plus 3. What it will do, it will leave these two elements because we have said plus 3 and select all. As we did here, we have said select every element using this n, and we have said plus 3 as well. So it will leave these two children of the container. So that is why you see it selected the third. If we pass 4 here, then you will notice that the count will start from the 4th. Now the 4th element has selected, and all the other as well. All the children which is before the 4th is now deselected, is not given the background red. Why? Because we have put a 4 here. We can also revert this by adding a minus sign here, and now what it will do, it will do the opposite. As you can see, now it will select 1 to 4th div of the container and give the background of red color and leave all the other children, because we have said minus n and plus 4. It is selecting the children before the 4th child. So if we add 6 here, now it will select before the 6. If we say 2 here, it will select from the 2 to 1. So I think that's enough. Now we can select element using nth-child selector. We can also learn a little bit function notation of CSS, and I think this little bit knowledge of this will be enough for you to carry on. So that's it for now, and if you have any question about this, you can ask me. I will happy to help you. So see you in the next lecture.